If you live in parts of North Dakota today, Minnesota, South Dakota, you have an enhanced risk of severe weather. Also, we're going to talk about the excessive heat today. We need to be ready for today and this week. All right, everyone, so we are severe weather risk for today. Everyone, we're going to enhance risk in North Dakota, Minnesota. We can see also in South Dakota for today, everyone. Then we got a slight risk we can see in Minnesota today, a 2 out of 5 risk up there. We can see in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota. Then we got a 1 out of 5 risk in margin risk in Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin. We're going to see on here in a margin risk in Texas, in Oklahoma. Then we got typical thunderstorm risk in Kansas, Oklahoma. We can see Kentucky, West Virginia. We can see a typical thunderstorm risk in Montana, even Washington, and one in California. In Nevada, we can see also for a typical thunderstorm risk today. So let's of course talk about our tornado risk for today. Of course, we got a 5% tornado risk on here for North Dakota and Minnesota with a significant one. We got potential for EF2 plus tornadoes in that blacked out line area today. Then we got a 2% tornado risk in Minnesota, Iowa. We can see Nebraska, South Dakota. We can see also on here too, guys, and Wisconsin. We can see also a 2% tornado risk for today. Then also, let's move on to our wind risk, everybody, for today. So here's our wind risk, everyone, for today. We can see we got a day 1 wind risk of 30% risk, significant 2. We can see a significant damaging winds today in a significant 2 red area to 30% wind risk. Then we got 15% wind risk for Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota, then a 5% wind risk for Texas. We can see also on here in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. You can see in a 5% wind risk for Montana and Wyoming today. We can see also 2 on here. Then also let's of course talk about our hail risk today. Let me just pull it up. That is our hail risk for today, everyone. We can see we got a 15% hail risk for parts of North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin. Those blacked out lines means we have a chance for large hail today in North Dakota, Minnesota. We can see in South Dakota today. Then we can see also on here we got a 5% hail risk for Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota. We can see for today, everyone. So let's move on to our day 2 severe weather risk. Then we got our day 2 severe weather risk here for June 30th. We can see we got a slight risk in Wisconsin, Michigan Peninsula. Then we got a margin risk in Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, Iowa. We can see Minnesota. We can see Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, some of the New England states we can see for tomorrow. Then we got typical thunderstorm risk for parts of Michigan, Missouri, Montana, Idaho. We can see Wyoming, Florida. We can see here Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana for tomorrow, everyone. So let's see what our tornado risk is for tomorrow, everyone. Let me just pull it up real quick. All right, everyone, so we got our day 2 tornado risk for tomorrow. We got 2% tornado risk in Wisconsin, Michigan Peninsula, 2% tornado risk in Pennsylvania, New York, and some of the New England states we can see on here for tomorrow, everyone. So let's move on to our wind risk for tomorrow, everyone. So this is what our wind risk looks like for tomorrow. We got a 15% wind risk for parts of Wisconsin, Michigan Peninsula. We see on here also too, guys. We see that 5% wind risk for parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, Nebraska. We can see Iowa on here for tomorrow. We see in Minnesota. We can see also on here for tomorrow too. Then also we're going to talk about our hail risk now for tomorrow. We can see we got a 5% hail risk for Wisconsin, Michigan. We can see on here Peninsula, Nebraska. We got 5% hail risk of a significant one, potential for some medium-sized hail we can see over there. Then we got a 5% hail risk for Pennsylvania, New York, and some of the New England states also. Now it's time to move on to our day 3 severe weather risk. Then everyone, we got our day 3 severe weather risk for July 1st. We got a margin risk in Nebraska, Wisconsin. We can see Iowa, Michigan. We can see for July 1st. Then we got typical thunderstorm risk for Kansas, Oklahoma. We can see Illinois, and we can see in Michigan too. Then we got a typical thunderstorm risk for Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Nevada, and Utah, and even Florida. We can see again Georgia, Tennessee, Louisiana. Then a margin risk of New York, some of the New England states. We can see also on here, everyone. So let's talk about our severe. Then we got our day 3 probability list. Look, we can see out here for July 1st. We got a 5% severity risk for Minnesota, Wisconsin for July 1st, Michigan, Kansas, Colorado, Pennsylvania, New York, and some of the New England states. So let's look at some of our radar projections today. What is that predicting today? So let's look at. All right, everyone. So we got our radar projections for today. You can see this is 2 p.m. We have potential storms in North Dakota We see some rain maybe in Minnesota. We can maybe see around 2 p.m. today some scattered rain showers in North and South Dakota. We can maybe see also to them maybe some rain showers and some snow in the Wyoming mountains. We can see today also around 2 p.m. Then 3 p.m. we can see a storm moving up into North Dakota and parts of Minnesota. You see on here are some maybe scattered rain showers in Minnesota. You see some scattered rain in maybe South Dakota. We can see also some snow in Colorado mountains. We can see also. Then 4 p.m. comes around. We can see some storms in Minnesota. North Dakota, we can see also some rain showers in Minnesota. We can see also on here too, guys. Some rain showers in Michigan Peninsula. We can see some scattered too. Then we got 5 p.m. on here. We can see our storms are moving out of Minnesota into Canada. We can see most likely. We still got some storms in North Dakota and Minnesota. We can see. Then by 7 p.m. we can see more storms start forming in Minnesota, South Dakota. We can see Nebraska, North Dakota, even Texas and Oklahoma. We've seen some rain in Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. We can see also. Then 8 p.m. we got some storms in Minnesota, Nebraska. We can see Oklahoma, North Dakota. We can see rain in Wisconsin. We can see rain in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. We can see also. Then 9 p.m. on here, we can see we have storms in Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota. We can see some rain showers in North Dakota, Oklahoma. We can see also. Then 10 p.m. on here, we get storms in Minnesota. We can see Iowa at 10 p.m. North Dakota. We can see also Oklahoma and Texas. We can see also too, guys, for today. Then 11 p.m. we get some storms in Minnesota. We can see Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, some scattered rain showers in Wisconsin. We can see even some storms in Texas at 11 p.m. tonight. Then we can see midnight comes along. We get some storms in Nebraska. We can see Iowa. Just so remember, if it says 1 a.m. Eastern time, it's midnight Central time. Then we can see some storms in Texas around midnight in Oklahoma. We can see also some maybe scattered rain showers in North Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming. We see some snow also in the mountains there. Then 1 o'clock in the morning, we saw some storms in Wisconsin, but it looks like they're going down a lot. We see Nebraska, we had some storms also on here. Seen some scattered rain in North Dakota. Then by 2 in the morning, mostly our storms are gone, but we still have some strong thunderstorms in Wisconsin, Iowa. We can see also at 2 in the morning. Then by 4 in the morning, our storms are pretty much gone. We just have some scattered rain showers in Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois. We can see also on here for tomorrow morning. So you can see maybe some scattered rain showers in Montana and maybe some snow potentially in the mountains there in Wyoming. So let's talk about our heat coming up this week more. We have some heat today already in places excessive heat. So let's talk about it. Alright, so we're going to start. This is temperatures around 11 a.m. this morning. We got 90s in Kansas, 90s in Oklahoma, 90s in Texas, 80s in Nebraska, 80s in Iowa, 80s in Missouri, 80s in Illinois, 80s in Indiana, 80s in Ohio, 80s in Michigan, 80s in Kentucky, 90s in Tennessee, 80s in Mississippi, 90s in Mississippi, 90s in Louisiana. We see 80s in Arkansas, 80s in Nebraska, 70s and 80s in South Dakota, 80s in Minnesota. We can see 80s in Colorado, 90s in New Mexico. We can see also on here. We can see for today around 11 a.m. Then let's skip to 2 p.m. today. We got, it looks like 90s in Oklahoma, 90s in Texas. We can see even 100 in parts of Oklahoma, maybe in Kansas, and 100 in Texas. 90s in Tennessee, 90s in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, 80s in Indiana, around 80s in Illinois, 90s in Iowa, 95 in Nebraska, 90s in South Dakota, 80s in Minnesota, 90s in Missouri. We can see also on here. Then we got around 4 p.m. today. We got 102 in Kansas, 102 in Oklahoma, 102 in Texas, 90s in Louisiana, 90s in Mississippi, Alabama, 90s in Georgia. We can see 80s in Indiana, 80s in Illinois. We see 80s in Wisconsin, 90s in Minnesota, 90s in Iowa. We see, so we can look at our Philly temperatures for today. These are what our Philly temperatures for today can look like. We have 107, it feels like in Kansas, 106 in Nebraska, it feels like 102 and 101 in Minnesota, 102 in Wisconsin, 90s in Missouri, 90s in Arkansas, 90s, 100 feels like in Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. We can see Illinois. All right, we got temperatures at Tuesday at 12 p.m. We can see we got 90s in Ohio, 90s in Michigan, 90s and 80s in Pennsylvania, 90s in New Jersey. We can see Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, 90s in Florida, 80s in Arkansas, 80s in Missouri, 80s in Kentucky, 80s in Illinois, 80s in Wisconsin. We can see also on here. Then 2 p.m. comes along. We get 90s in Ohio, 90s in West Virginia, 90s in Tennessee, 90s in Alabama, South Carolina, Mississippi, Louisiana, North Carolina, Maryland, New Jersey, 90s in New York, 90s in parts of the New England states. We can see also 90s in Iowa, 90s in Missouri, 90s in Arkansas, 90s in Louisiana, 90s in Texas. We can see everybody on here. So then we got 4 p.m. on here. We got 100 in Tennessee, 90s in Kentucky, 90s in Ohio, 90s in Illinois, Indiana, Missouri. We see 90s in Michigan, 90s in Virginia, West Virginia. We see New Jersey, some of the New England states were in the 90s too. 90s in South Carolina and Georgia. We can see 90s in Iowa. We can see also today. No, tomorrow. I meant sorry, tomorrow. So then let's look at our feel like temperatures for tomorrow, everyone. So these are what our feel like temperatures look like for tomorrow. We get 108 in Illinois, 106 it feels like. Indiana, 104. It feels like tomorrow. 98 in Ohio, 99. 105 it feels like in Tennessee. Kentucky, Mississippi feels like 104. Georgia, 103. South Carolina, 102. We're feeling like 90s in Pennsylvania. Tomorrow, I meant again, sorry. Then we can see also we're going to move on to tomorrow's temperatures now. All right, this is what at 6 in the morning it looks like for Wednesday. We got near 80 in Ohio, 70s in Pennsylvania, 70s in Indiana. We're already at, this is only 6 in the morning, guys. This is warm temperatures, guys. 70s in Virginia, 70s in North Carolina. Then we're going to go up to noon now, Wednesday at noon. We're already up in the 90s in Ohio, 90s in Pennsylvania, 90s in New Jersey, 90s in Tennessee, 90s in South Carolina, North Carolina, 90s at Louisiana, Arkansas, we can see on here, 90s in Tennessee, 90s in Michigan, 90s and 80s in Wisconsin, we can see in 70s too, 80s in Illinois, 80s in Indiana. Let's see. Then let's skip to 2 p.m. on Wednesday. We're already in the 90s in New Jersey, already at 2 p.m. 90s in Virginia on Wednesday, we can see 90s in Ohio, 90s in North and South Carolina, 100 in Tennessee, we can see on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Then we can see 5 p.m. on Wednesday, we're near 100 in parts of Ohio, 97, 95. New Jersey, we're near 102. Pennsylvania, parts of PA. Parts of Virginia, we're in the 90s. North Carolina, Tennessee, we're at 100 and 101. Georgia in the 90s. South Carolina, we can see also 90s in Florida. We can see 90s in Louisiana, 90s in Arkansas, 90s in Missouri, 90s in Illinois, 90s in Wisconsin. We can see in some spots 90s in parts of Massachusetts. We can see even in the New England states, in Maine also. Then we get our Philly temperatures for Wednesday. We see we have 101 we're feeling like, 103 in New Jersey, 101 in Maryland, 103 in Kentucky we're feeling like, Tennessee 104, South Carolina 101, see Georgia 101, Mississippi 105. We can see also for Wednesday. Also, we're going to talk about our temperatures for Thursday now. Let's skip the Thursday at noon. So this is what Thursday at noon looks like. We're already in the higher 90s in Pennsylvania at noon. Maryland, Virginia, we're in the 90s. North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, we're in the 90s too. Kentucky, we're in the 90s too. Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, we're in the 80s. Missouri and Arkansas, we're in the 80s. 90s in Georgia, South Carolina, in the 90s. North Carolina, Virginia, 99. We can see North Carolina, 98. We can see New York in the 80s. We can see also on here. Then we can see 3 p.m. on Thursday, we're 103 in Pennsylvania, 101 in New Jersey, 102 in Virginia, 100 in South Carolina, North Carolina. It looks like even 100 in some parts of Ohio. We can see on Thursday, we can see. Then we can see 5 p.m. on Thursday, we're 104 in Pennsylvania, 103. New Jersey, we're feeling like 102. Virginia, 104. South Carolina, we're feeling like 102. Also, we can see on here, so let's look at our Philly temperatures real quick. These are what our Philly temperatures can look like for Thursday. We have 107, it feels like in New Jersey, 107 in Maryland, 105 in Virginia, 101 in South Carolina, it feels like 100, it feels like in Ohio, 106, it feels like in Tennessee, Louisiana, it feels like 104, 100 in Illinois, Indiana, 90s in Michigan. We can see also feels like 100 near Massachusetts. So this is going to be pretty much it. I'm going to be wrapping up the video here. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the notification bell. You never miss a video like this, guys. Okay, guys. I see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.